Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you the day after transfer deadline day, February the 2nd. So now we know who is going to be at Arsenal for the second half of the season and who isn't. It was a day of departures yesterday, no incomings, despite a little hint in the morning from Mikel Arteta that he still felt there might be something Arsenal could do in terms of, we presume, the left-back area that he had mentioned before as an area they might want to strengthen. That didn't happen, and it was just a day of departures. 3 big names heading out, a couple of other youngsters on loan as well. So let's quickly run through the action of how events unfolded on deadline day. Start of Ainsley Maitland-Niles, I think that was probably the most dramatic of the day, because at one point it looked like Leicester was certainly in with a shout. Then it looked like Southampton were going to get their man, but in the end it ended up going back to West Brom, the team that had been pretty much ruled out of the running earlier on in the morning. So a pretty sort of dramatic turn of events that took Maitland-Niles to West Brom. Arsenal didn't want him to go to Leicester, who they viewed as a big rival. They were happy for him to go to Southampton. That was their preferred choice of destination. But Ainsley Maitland-Niles dragged his heel a little bit. Him and his representatives weren't too keen. They weren't sold on the idea. I think at Southampton it was more of a case of they were bringing him in as fullback or wing back, and Maitland-Niles, as he has done at Arsenal, has wanted to play in central midfield, and that appears to be where West Brom stepped in. Sam Allardyce stepped in, offered Maitland-Niles what he wanted, and that was why he decided to go to the Hawthorns. Even though you look at the league table where West Brom are, how they're playing at the moment, who their manager is, it's probably not the most appealing of options to most footballers. But Ainsley Maitland-Niles has taken the plunge, and that is where he's going to be playing until the end of the season. Mikel Arteta saying afterwards, Ainsley is a very talented player, and we are proud of the hard work and development with us. The decision to go on loan to West Brom for the rest of the season is to support Ainsley and his growth further. He'll be working at a very good club in the Premier League, and we wish him all the best of luck during his time at the Hawthorns. It will certainly be interesting to see how Ainsley gets on playing in that central midfield role that we presume he is going to be operating in at West Brom. He's got a good few months there now to play regularly, to put himself in the shop window, really, I would say now, for the summer, and to get himself a spot in the England squad for the European Championships. Arsenal will be looking at it as an opportunity for him to go out and play well. Like I said, put himself in the shop window as well, because whether they really view him now as a long-term solution, I'm not too sure, even from Mikel's comments there. When you can compare them to the comments he made about Joe Willock, and Edu made about Joe Willock, which we'll get to in a minute, kind of told a little bit of a story about maybe how they see Ainsley and his future and where it might lie at the end of the season. And if he goes there and performs well, then his value is only going to increase. And then if Arsenal do decide to sell, then they'll get probably a fair bit more money than they would right now if he stayed at Arsenal for the remainder of the season, didn't play too many minutes. So Ainsley Maitland-Niles to West Brom and Joe Willock to Newcastle. That looked like it was going to happen from early on in the day yesterday. It went right up until deadline. I think it was announced about 8 seconds before the deadline closed, but it was always on the cards, that one. Arsenal confident throughout the day that it was going to get done. He'll spend the remainder of the season there. Mikel, actually I think this was Edu, who said Joe is a talented young player and an important member of our first team squad. This can be seen in the number of appearances he made for us in recent seasons. At this stage of his career, we have decided with Joe that it will benefit his development greatly to enjoy a loan period playing regular first team football. We thank our counterparts Newcastle for their collaboration, and we wish Joe all the best for the future. And Mikel Arteta, also speaking about him, certainly hinted that this definitely isn't the end for Willock at Arsenal, and it is more an opportunity to go and play, to continue to develop, get a good run of games in the Premier League, and then come back and see where he stands in the summer. I've never been entirely convinced by Willock. I think he certainly does offer Arsenal something at times that they didn't have before, certainly before Smith Rowe was introduced to the team and Martin Odegaard arrived from midfield. But whether he's a quality for Arsenal for the long term, I've always had my doubts, and I know a lot of you have as well. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on up at Newcastle, if he can make an impact, and what happens in the summer. But for me, I think you kind of look at these two players for Arsenal's point of view, in terms of business point of view, they're looking at two £20 million plus players probably. If they can go out and perform well between now and the end of the season, then when the shop window opens in the summer, when the transfer window rolls around again, then you're potentially looking at two very, very sellable young English assets. And for any football club, that's worth a lot of money. And for Arsenal, especially given the financial difficulties they are in at the moment, that would be a bonus for them. So I think they're certainly hoping that's what might happen between now and the end of the season, with Maitland-Niles and Willock go out, perform well, boost that price tag, boost the number of admirers and potential takers for them in the summer, and then come back to Arsenal and decide what the future holds. Mustafi as well, no more shot to Mustafi. The Mustafi era at Arsenal is over. He's gone to Schalke now, contract cancelled, and Arsenal do get a nominal fee, we believe, or it's a case of, I think, that basically Arsenal don't have to pay all of Mustafi's wages. So look, it's a costly thing for Arsenal. The same with Mesut Ozil, the same with Socrates. Arsenal paying the price for past mistakes really in this transfer window, but they've been ruthless in it as well. When Mustafi's gone, the end of the era, one of the most costly errors of judgment I think Arsenal have ever made. Had some good games, Mustafi, but too many mistakes, too many high-profile mistakes. Kept repeating the same mistakes over and over again. 5 years, all those wages, £35 million transfer fee. I know Arsenal made worse signings than Mustafi in terms of quality, far many more. But in terms of the cost to the club, expense-wise and everything, I think you look back at Mustafi as one of the most costly errors Arsenal have made in terms of judgment and in terms of scouting, and in terms of, in fact, not even scouting, because this was very much a stat DNA signing from back in the day. So, yeah, that era is now over. I think we can all be pretty happy that Mustafi has gone. Like I said, had some good games, had a very good end of last season in the team under Mikel Arteta, probably his best run, other than when he first arrived for that first sort of 20 games at Arsenal. Helped Arsenal to win the FA Cup, so fair play to him to that. Still leaves having won more FA Cups than Tottenham have done in about 30 odd years, which says a lot. But I think we can all be thankful that Mustafi era at Arsenal is now over and everyone can move forward. A couple of other ones. Matt Smith, youngster midfielder, was at Swindon on loan, came back, now gone out to Charlton on loan, and Zech Medley, the centre-back, has gone to Kilmarnock on loan. So that's pretty much where Arsenal stand after deadline day. In terms of the transfer window as a whole, I think it's been a very, very good window for Arsenal. They've only made 2 signings in terms of incomings, Martin Odegaard and Matt Ryan coming in. But I think the main focus for Arsenal, we all knew it, the priority this window was getting players out to solve the squad issues that Mikel Arteta has been having to deal with since the start of the season and now, and they have done that and more. I think no one would have predicted at the start of the window that Ozil, Socrates, Mustafi and Kolasinac would have all gone. Even I think Edu, in his most optimistic, would have been sitting there on January the 1st and thought that was unlikely. But he's done it. Fair play to Edu. I think he's done very, very well in this window. Certainly a lot of question marks about him still. Yes, he signed Willian, and what he's done with the scouting network, I'm not sure I agree with that at all. But in terms of this window and what he's done and the firm action he's taken to solve the issues that Mikel Arteta was desperate for him to solve in terms of the squad issue, he's done that very, very well. It would have saved Arsenal money in the long term, not masses, because Arsenal obviously had to buy out these contracts and come to an agreement. But if the players would have seen out all their deals, they would have still earned a little bit more money than what they've agreed to take now to end the contract early. So he has saved Arsenal some money, but I think I'm not even talking about money when I look at how the window is. It's just Mikel Arteta has had some real issues with what's been going on behind the scenes because the squad has been too big, because of unhappy players, because of players who are wanting to get out and perhaps causing problems behind the scenes. But now that has been dealt with in an effective way this transfer window. Arsenal have got them out and they've added the 2 players they really, really wanted. A creative midfielder to add something to the attack and back up to Bernd Leno, which they desperately needed, because I think we've all seen what Alex Runderson has been like since he arrived at Arsenal, and he's nowhere near Arsenal standards, certainly for a number 2 goalkeeper. They didn't get left back in. That's perhaps a little bit of a shame, but I think there's still plenty of cover for left back as well. Cedric Suarez is doing very, very well there at the moment. Bukayo Saka can play there as well. So Arsenal do have options. I don't think it was an absolute necessity. It would have been nice to get a left back, but I don't think it was an absolute necessity. And so I think when you look at the transfer window as a whole, I think you've got to give Arsenal a lot of credit and give Edu a lot of credit for what he's done. And I know full well that Mikel Arteta will be sitting there this morning, looking at his squad and the balance of his squad and be very, very happy with what has been done. It's beginning to look like a Mikel Arteta squad now. And that perhaps hasn't been the case since he arrived. It's always been mix and match. It is still a little bit, but it's slowly beginning, especially after this window with the likes of Mustafi, Ozil, Socrates, Kolasinac, all going, none of which were Mikel Arteta players. It's starting to have the hallmarks of a Mikel Arteta squad, and that can only be a good thing for the future. I think what it also does is put Arsenal in a much better position approaching the summer transfer window as well, because a lot of the issues have been cleared now. That gives Arsenal a lot of time to focus purely on what's going to be happening this summer in terms of bringing players in and freeing up spaces in the squad. It's just given them a head start really for the summer, for the preparation for what's going to be a really important summer transfer window for Arsenal. It's not going to be an easy one because of the financial issues that's been brought on by COVID. We know that. It's going to be pretty much every other team's going to be in the same boat as Arsenal, but it's not going to be an easy one to navigate. But I think the work that's been done this window has certainly sent them towards next summer transfer window in a far, far better position than they would have been if they were still dealing with the players that they wanted to get out still being here. Big game for Arsenal tonight. We do have football to talk about, not just transfers. Obviously, Arsenal versus Wolves, or Wolves versus Arsenal at Molineux. I will be heading up there. 6 o'clock kickoff today, so I'll be up there about 4 o'clock, 4:30 for that one. Arsenal winning at Molineux last season, how they would love to repeat that this time around. Going to be a tough game. Wolves not in the greatest of form, certainly not enjoying the season they enjoyed last season. The injury to Raul Jimenez at Arsenal at the end of last year has really hit them hard. They've really struggled since then without that focal point striker, struggled for goals, but they're always very well drilled, Wolves. Arsenal know they're going to have to play well to break them down today, even if perhaps Wolves aren't going to offer the same level of threat than they have done before because of the lack of central striker. In terms of team news ahead of the game at Wolves, it's pretty positive on the whole for Arsenal. Aubameyang is back now training. Saka has been back in full training. Pablo Mari, Dani Ceballos, they both started full training again. All of those players will be assessed according to Arsenal ahead of tonight's game. I presume that certainly Saka and Aubameyang will probably make it. I think Saka especially will probably make it. There'll be a late call on Odegaard because he missed a week's worth of training, but I still think he'll probably travel with the squad. I'm not sure about him starting, but I think he'll travel with the squad. Mari and Ceballos, I'm not so sure because they've been out for a little bit longer. The one issue is there's obviously still no Kieran Tierney. Arsenal have ruled him out again for another game with this lower leg discomfort that he is suffering from. That is a shame. We all know how important Kieran Tierney is and what a good player he is, but Cedric Suarez will obviously continue to deputise for him at left back, and Cedric's playing pretty well at the moment. Mikel Arteta has some big decisions to make. I think there's one really sort of main decision. Obviously, you've got the Aubameyang issue to decide, but I think that will be made for him. The medical staff will say whether he's ready to play 60 minutes or 25 minutes, and that will basically make Mikel Arteta's decision for him. But then I think you're looking at that number 10 role now. You know, Martin Odegaard, we saw him come on against United for a few minutes. Is he ready to start a game? Smith Rowe's played a lot of football, obviously limped off in the game before United, which escapes me at the moment, Southampton. Obviously limped off after about 60 minutes. He started against United, played the majority of that game. You know, is it time to give Emil Smith Rowe a little bit of a rest? I think it may well be. If Martin Odegaard is fit enough to get 60 minutes, I would not be at all surprised to see Odegaard play in the number 10 role. I think that's certainly the big decision that Arteta has to make today, is Smith Rowe or Odegaard. I think Saka coming back in solves a big problem. He can just slot in on the right hand side, where he's been playing so well. I think then we'll see Pepe move over to the left potentially, and then you basically got that sort of forward line that Arsenal played so well with against Southampton in the 3-1 win. So I think those are the two really big decisions. The rest of the team at the moment for me kind of picks itself, as long as there's no knocks that we don't really know about. I think you're looking at that front line, and the setup is exactly the main thing that Mikel Arteta will be working on. What do you do at number 10? Do you go with Odegaard or do you go with Smith Rowe? And then what do you do in terms of the wide men? If, as expected, Aubameyang's probably not going to start, do you throw Saka straight back in? I think you probably do, because he's such an important player and he's only missed one game, so his fitness won't be too much of an issue. So that's the big call I think Mikel Arteta has to make. Let me quickly go through my predicted 11 then for what I'm expecting tonight. Obviously in goal we will see Bernd Leno. I'm going to go with the defence that's served Arsenal well in recent times. So set Bellerin at right back, Holding and Luiz as the two centre-backs. Cedric Suarez filling in for Tierney at left back. Then the central midfield pairing of Granit Xhaka and Thomas Partey again. Then I'm going to go with Bukayo Saka on the right, Martin Odegaard at number 10, Nicolas Pepe on the left wing, and then Alexander Lacazette leading the line. Mikel Arteta saying yesterday that he expects Lacazette to be fine and available for this game after that little scare he had against United when he ended up in hospital. But Mikel saying that was just the necessary protocols they had to go through, but everything came back fine. Lacazette's been fine, he's been training. So I'm expecting Laka to start. So I think Aubameyang will go, but I think given the football he's missed, given the lack of training, that the captain will probably start this one on the bench. Right, that's about it from me. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I do appreciate your time as always. Like I said, I will be at Molineux tonight. I will try my best to do at least a pre-match video in the warm-ups and discussing the team news, but I'll try my best to get player ratings done as well. But if not, then definitely join me tomorrow, because I will be doing a video looking back at what hopefully is another Arsenal win in the Premier League. Until then, everyone, have a very good day. Enjoy the game tonight.